Hello, this is James Cox with the Martial Arts Lifestyle, and we are in episode number 24. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about lineage, your roots. So I kind of imagine taking like a ancestry or like the 23andMe test to kind of find out where you come from and what you're really made of, right? So I see a lot of times in the martial arts world, and this goes in a lot of different situations, the lack of knowledge on where you come from, as far as what do you do, who showed you the way, who showed them, even so much as what style of martial arts do you teach. Now, things have changed, so I gotta not always be old school, but I do want to talk a little bit about how things were done, and there's always that, well, back in my day. So I'll try to avoid that because I hate when people say that all the time. I remember listening to older people and sometimes not listening to older people. And you always should. You should listen to these people that have walked the miles, that have the experience, that have the life experiences, because that's really where the knowledge is. But regardless, anyway, we'll try to avoid saying back in the day and what we used to do, but it's probably going to come out. I was fortunate to come up with a martial arts instructor, Patrick McDaniel, who was very strong on our lineage and us all knowing from kids, and we were all kids. He started martial arts at the rec center, and how important it was for us to know the history of our martial arts in detail, not just our martial arts style, which is Kajukembo, but other martial arts styles that we don't know, that we don't have. I mean, he tried to make us learn every martial arts style there was, at least whatever we could find out. And this was before internet, so we had to get magazines and books, and we had to listen to people. That's where some of my best knowledge has come from, is people that either were there or were close to being there, and the new people when some of these styles were kind of being pioneered. Like Kajukembo is somewhat early as a mixed martial art. It was founded in 1947 to 1949 in Honolulu, Hawaii. Sijo Adriano de Imperato was the main founder with 4 co-founders representing each different style. Peter Chu from karate, Joseph Hoke of judo, Frank Ordonis of jiu-jitsu, Clarence Chang of kung fu, Chinese boxing. Well, see, there's an example. I cannot forget my martial arts history because my instructor made us recite it. Every belt test, we had to turn in notebooks. You can't see if this is on the audio, but for the YouTube version, here's an example of one of my notebooks. And that's pretty thick binder here. I mean, there's pages and pages, and a lot of this stuff was handwritten. So if you can imagine a 15-year-old boy writing out a self-defense drill. Self-defense drill number 1, you step your left foot, 9 o'clock, you do a right hand palm heel to the sternum. Move number 2, you step your left foot up, you do, right? I had to write all these drills down, and we would turn them in for part of our belt promotion. Besides all the basic moves, we had to know all of our forms. And if you guys know what a kata or pattern or routine is, how do you get a pen and paper and write down a kata? Well, I did, and we all did. And it's in my notebook from those days to prove it. So a lot of the H pattern or I pattern forms, we would write down and either use a stick figure or just use lines like, imagine an architect or diagramming something, a scientist putting out an equation of something, and you turn 9 o'clock this way with a downward block, you step with a forward punch. But this is how we kept track, and if we ever forgot a move, we just go back to our notebook. What'd your notebook say? And we'd go back to see what drill number 7 was or what kata number 6 was. It was cool. It was interesting. We didn't video it and we didn't have YouTube, but we wrote it on pen and paper and books. Some of this, as I'm looking at my notebook, was an old school typewriter. And I'm talking really old school typewriter, so only some of you guys will know what that even is. We wrote down philosophies that we heard from different people or people that we followed. I have stuff in here from Bruce Lee, from Ed Parker, from my instructors. Probably even tried to make up my own philosophies, right? Just whatever it may have been. We have the history in here. So these are pages of things that either I cut out and found in magazines, in books, or we typed up or hand wrote about every martial arts style that I could find. And from an early age, the students at our school, and it was a small group of students, they were good students and they worked hard, but they knew their history. They knew their lineage. They knew the martial arts instructors. A lot of my black belts now are the same way because I still continue that legacy. I don't, it's hard now with having as many students as I have to turn in notebooks from every student, every belt test, and try to, check them that way. We just had belt graduation this last week, and there was over 200 people that graduated. I'm not going to be able to look at 200 notebooks, but anyway, what I'm getting at, real, is that it's important to know your lineage and your history. And I would be surprised, not to call people out, man, but I'd be surprised at some top world-class martial artists that couldn't tell you much about their own style of martial arts, much less the styles of other martial arts. Who put it together? Where did it come from? Is it a Korean, a Japanese, a Chinese style? What does it emphasize the most? And I guess that's okay if that's just not your thing. But what do you think? Is that important to you? And you guys can put this stuff in the comments, Do you feel that it's important to know your lineage and your roots, your martial arts history, these styles, and be able to even understand them and to recognize them, I'm pretty good at it, man. I can watch a martial arts movie. I can see a competition. I could see a tournament, a seminar, a demonstration. And without even knowing from a distance, I could tell you by the way the person moves. Are they Kempo, Taekwondo, Kung Fu, Jiu-Jitsu, whatever else it may be. Now, I get that today, in these modern years, that's a little bit more difficult because it became popular to mixed martial arts. See, that was an unheard of thing before Kajukembo, before Jeet Kune Do, and before MMA, UFC. That was really an unheard thing. Things were pretty, I guess the word maybe segregated. They were separated. Karate people did karate. Judo people did judo. Taekwondo people did taekwondo. Kempo was Kempo. They didn't mix, right? Until, these modern people like Sijo Adriano Imperato and Bruce Lee, these people came up with, why be limited? If you can be better at all aspects and you can accept what works, then use that variety and be good at all aspects. It's just so much better. What martial arts style is for you? Is there a style or a system or a certain discipline that you would be better at or that you really want to learn? I think that is personal preference. I think of it like food. Of course, I like food and I eat a lot of food. I like the variety of food, like a buffet, right? Or Kajukembo and Jeet Kune Do and those original mixed martial arts and MMA fighting today, it's a buffet, right? It's important because you do need all of those nutrients and ingredients, but to be able to mix it. I like it because I feel like I would get bored doing one thing only over and over. But it's personal preference, again, like, do you prefer Italian food, Mexican food, American food, or what's even available might be the case. Because I didn't know the difference. I was going to do karate, I went to a recreation center to join a karate school. I didn't know what they taught there. I didn't even know how to say Kajukembo, much less what it was. But it didn't take long because I sure learned, because that was part of our curriculum. And it's good because at the end, you're going to have martial artists like you have people in life that are going to excel in different things. I have students that are amazing kickers. No one can kick like them. They're just with flexibility, just natural to that. I have other people that it's their upper body. So now they're more rapid with their hands and just amazing with that. And people that like weapons, their specialty. People that like groundwork, grappling, judo, jiu-jitsu. So that variety. But so it's kind of like your food where, it's personal preference. What do you choose and what works for you? People will kind of ask, you do karate. And of course, I just say, yeah, whatever. But you don't really do karate. What's your style? What's the system? What type of martial arts do you do? And you don't really do those things anyway. You're supposed to more kind of live them. Now, that's getting on the philosophical side. But if it's a way of life, then it's something that you enjoy, that helps you, that helps others. And it's connection. It's a connection of the mind, body, and spirit. Along with all the history and terminology and knowing where we come from, there was a time where we had, as I was promoting my own black belts, they were numbered. So you can imagine like an athletic team with a numbered jersey, right? 23, it's hard not to think Michael Jordan, right? But my number one black belt was Chuck Estes. So he was known as one, and if I went down to number 38 and it was John Smith, I don't know John Smith, but let's just say he was number 38. Now we're probably around number 160 or so. So the black belts early on, they had to memorize all of those black belts before them. So they had to memorize all the black belts that were promoted before them. They had to memorize their instructors, all the way down to our main founder. And that was a lot of memorizing in history. We did this as well with a lot of terminology. So every system or style of martial arts, they should have a certain terminology. You got to think military. So martial arts, of course, military, the combat part, as well as the expression. Then we want our students to have things anchored inside of them. I have today my 3-year-olds that memorize certain things that they will recite. It makes me think of like the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and, certain creeds, pledges, oaths, and just things to memorize, rules. We ask the rules of concentration. Our 3-year-olds are going to say, focus your eyes, focus your mind, focus your body. And we have a student creed that we'll start with. We have an ending creed. But back in the day, in my time, man, we had pages of terminology. And again, this is 35 years ago. But still, I could not forget it if I was paid to. We recited every single class. My instructor would say, 3 elements of karate. We say, speed, focus, power. Name the system. Kajukembo. How many styles? 5. Name them. Karate, Judo, Jiu-Jitsu, Kempo, Chinese boxing, known as Kung Fu. Name the founder. Adriano D'Imperado. Name the date, 1947. Nukshidu, the way of the invisible snapping fist. Mizuno Kukuru, mind like still water. Suzuki no Kukuru, mind like the moon. Philosophical meaning of Kajukembo. Through this fist style, one gains long life and happiness. On and on and on. Codes of discipline. Stop doing that which you do not like. Nothing is impossible to a willing mind. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, I could go on and on. These things are anchored in my mind because we were forced to memorize them and to recite them and to belt test on them. That's cool. At the same time, we were doing self-defense. We were doing fitness. We were doing fighting. But I just see I don't see this today. And I talk to other martial arts schools. It's somewhat embarrassing when I talk to a high-ranking black belt that does martial arts somewhere else, and they can't tell me anything about their style. Who was the founder? Where did it come from? What's its emphasis? And where I was getting at earlier, because of modern days, I guess it's okay. You're going to join a school that just does a curriculum, and Premier Martial Arts has a curriculum that is just appeals to the masses, but we still have history. You still learn about Krav Maga and Muay Thai and, some sport karate and some of the things that we do, but it mixes it all together. So if you guys have any questions on that, reach out to me and ask. And like I had said in a previous podcast, I want to do we'll call it a Q&A episode soon. So this gives you a chance. You can get a hold of me, a lot of ways. James Cox, Martial Arts. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. You can comment on the YouTube. Heck, you can find me and get my number or email. It's gmjamescox@gmail.com. Pretty easy. People think GM is for general manager, but it's Grandmaster James Cox @gmail.com. But I want you guys to please send me some questions. What are something you would like me to answer? You have any questions, concerns, thoughts, my opinions on something else? I mean, it could be a debate. It could be just anything. And then we can, I'll give you a shout out, so-and-so asked me this, and let's answer it. And maybe we'll get some prizes for that as well. So hopefully this was educational. If not, then you don't know nothing. Know what I mean by that? If not, you need to go learn some lineage, some roots, your heritage. Where did you come from? Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. Check out the YouTube channel. I'll talk to you soon.